Welcome back to Zero Gravity Live, the weightless weekly tech talk podcast, bringing all the latest discussions right to you. We're sponsored by Object First UPI, the best storage for Veeam. And if you're watching this from YouTube, please make sure to ring that little bell so you get all the notifications for when we go live and put up videos in the future. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, why not leave us a nice review? Thanks for joining us. If you're here with us today live, please leave us a comment and whatever platform you're in on, letting us know where you're tuning in from. I'm in sunny Central Florida myself, and you might notice our guests have changed. Matt's out on vacation this week, so we're joined by Jasmine. Welcome to the show. And returning favorite Sterling is also here. Thanks for being with us. And just a quick shout out for Matt. I had to get him to jump on to help me set up this whole thing up this morning during his vacation. So please enjoy the rest of your time off, buddy.
True.
Now, we got a huge show lined up this week, and we're going to jump right into topics. So, Sterling, what are we talking about this week?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a little something to share. Here on the show, we always talk a lot about smart home technology. We love sort of, making our lives simpler. But, we also have to remember security is also an issue. As a matter of fact, it's just come out recently that thousands of phones and routers were basically swept into a proxy service unbeknownst to users. You got it. Apparently, security firm Lumen reports that about 40,000 home and office routers, Internet of Things, devices, things like this. Unfortunately, they've all been affected by a variant of the moon. I don't know how many old school hackers we have listening to us, but the moon really started back in 2014 and was really known for its ability to propagate, to go from just device to device and just, really, really hard to stop. It started basically on some Linksys routers, went over to ASUS routers, and really just propagated from there. We thought it was dead. We kind of thought it was gone, but we found out today that some of the underground networks, some of the criminal activity, instead of using VPNs, have turned to taking over devices, specifically unsupported devices that are easily to sort of crack into and direct the nefarious activity through. So, when we think about these types of things, it's interesting to note that VPNs, I think that they found out, really didn't obfuscate your activity the way it's really purported. So they're going to these to these other means. It really just kind of brings home to us the necessity for security along with the simplicity, doesn't it?
Whew. Usually I bring the scary topics every week. And Sterling, I'm surprised, from toothbrushes that might, take over your home to this.
He's gone to the dark side.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. So yeah, happy Tuesday, everyone. But hey, don't use unsupported devices, right?
Yeah, I failed to mention our theme for this month is security, and Sterling has brought the security topics. So, my immediate reaction to this is, what can we do, right? Like, this seems bad. This seems something that's gone unnoticed for a long time. But does the article give any tips or suggestions on what all of us that use the internet in our homes should be up to?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'll kind of answer that, and then I'll throw it to Jasmine, because we each have different views of using these devices. I mean, the devices that are being taken over are just the simple routers we use from the internet. Just some old device that we've gone from house to house. It's just a smart bulb. It was on the Wi-Fi there. It's on the Wi-Fi here. This camera that I've been using since 2012, I mean, it still works. These are all things that we're going to be using. So I think as we move forward, you have to weigh and be cognizant of, can I still get updates for it? But Jasmine, what do you think? Do you think this is going to just still propagate? People use these devices?
I mean, yeah, I feel like, me personally, I am a very paranoid person about kind of just security in general. Maybe not internet security as much as I should be, but I feel as if I wouldn't really think about these things. And I wouldn't be someone to think, oh, my home Wi-Fi network is compromised, or someone's in there messing with what I'm doing and going onto these weird websites. It wouldn't be something that I would think about. Although I am paranoid about, someone breaking into my house or things like that. I feel like a lot of people don't think of all of the cybersecurity threats that can come up in their home. So I don't know. I'm not really sure. I know personally it wouldn't be something that I would think about, but I think people should definitely be more aware of it because it seems to be happening more frequently than we know.
Well said. It's all about awareness, right, Anthony?
It really is. I love that point you made about breaking into your house because like that used to be the old fear, right?
Right.
Like you're breaking into my home when I'm not there, or maybe when I am there, it's even worse. Like now we have this to deal with on top of that, which is what can they get access to when they're inside our home and we don't know it. And I'm gonna open it up to our chat too. I'm just curious, for those watching both live stream and if you're watching this after the fact, leave a comment. What do you do to kind of help prevent some of this intrusions in your house? And the thing that kind of scares me about this article and what you said, Sterling, was specifically around how VPNs don't help.
Yeah.
So it seems like a lot of the old tricks that we rely on are not good enough to prevent this kind of intrusion. And correct me if I'm wrong, it's IoT devices, right? So it's like unsecured IoT devices are what they're using as their gateway. And how does the average user know? Right.
Exactly.
Like short anecdote. I was up in Philadelphia with my wife visiting our niece just a few weeks ago. And she has these very cool little toys that are all these little talking animals that connect to each other. And they sing songs together depending on what room they're in. It's kind of creepy and it's kind of weird, but I was like, oh, what a cool toy for a kid. But then I started looking at the technology and, they're all connected via Bluetooth. They all have their own little RFID and, NFC and like everything. There's a lot of technology in this children's toy to make it seem like a bunch of little animals are singing together.
Exactly.
Is that a risk? Like, are they at risk because of this device? Is it not secure?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying.
Yeah, I think a lot more things are connected to the internet that we just thought were maybe more of a pan, right? There's the personal area network, but now they're shouting out to the internet, and you almost need them for the updates. But at the same time, if you're going to update something and you want to make sure it stays secure, you want to make sure you're using a method that doesn't lower the security, right? It's
right. And I think there's the other challenge with that too is a lot of people today will not update their devices, phones, laptops, what have you, because they're afraid the update's going to break something, which I think we've all experienced.
Yeah.
I also feel like a lot of people are scared to kind of go through updates or put extra security measures in because they think of security and they think it's complicated. Like, I mean, a lot of, like my parents and older people, and even young people too, like even myself, I'm like, I don't know how to do that. That seems too complicated. So whatever type of thing. So I feel as if there's kind of this stereotype around security and just IT in general. And I mean, it is complicated. It's complicated to me, but I feel, I know a decent amount about it. So I can't imagine with people who don't know really anything about it, how they would go about implementing these security measures because they have the conception that it's very difficult.
That's a great point. It's not going to get any easier.
Point.
Yeah.
And we all have the luxury. I think us and the viewers all have the luxury of being in technology. So we get the horror stories, we get the fear. To Jasmine's point, like even if you're not in a technical role, you're still exposed to it and you're feeling it in your day-to-day life. Like what do our grandparents do? What do our parents deal with? Kids just playing Fortnite on their phones. They've got all these cool new toys that are way more internet centric than the things we had growing up. How do we secure all of this and how do we keep it up to date? And it's a best practice and a behavior that I think the entire world needs to get on board with. And I don't know how we get everyone there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's part of why we're here, right?
That is correct. Yeah. And we'll get to equally scary topic to close us out. But before we do that, we actually have some good news. I'm so glad we have Jasmine.
There's a little switch up coming in here.
It's switch up
about securing your life, sort of.
Nice.
Yeah. So tell us about this.
So I guess my first question to you both is kind of what do you think about women and strength training or just strength training in general? Like, what is your thoughts when you first hear that?
Well, I'll shoot out there. When I think of strength training, I think of a way to find your body's sort of middle level. When I think of people who are like bodybuilders and things like that, they almost take their body to a limit. And then you have sort of the other side of people who don't do any, so strength training is a way to to me, maybe keep your core at a certain level. So, that that you can, continue to do the activities you want.
Yeah,
Am I
no,
close?
that's a good first thoughts. Anthony?
For me, strength training, and this has been heavily influenced by my wife, is you want to build muscle now while you're young, so that when you get old, you have muscle and you're not trying to, because it's much harder to build muscle when you're old. So we're very much a believer, and you do strength training today so you don't have to worry about flexibility and your muscle structure tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a huge thing going on in the media right now. And I think for so long, though, that wasn't the idea that people had. At least I know for me, when I was growing up, people kind of told me strength training, like you're going to be huge if you lift weights. And like all these women feel like they can't go and lift weights because they're going to end up like a bodybuilder. And like the fact of the matter is like you would have to be eating like so much food, so much protein to even get to that point. So it's just, I think the media's really gone down this rabbit hole of trying to get women not in the gym and like doing things like, I don't know, going on walks, which are all really great things for you. Like those are not bad for you. But I think people have just skewed what strength training is for women and like why they should be involved in it. And a lot of people like trying to lose weight are doing all intense cardio, and that works for a lot of people. But a lot of the research has shown that strength training is like one of the most effective way to kind of burn calories and lose weight, because once you build more muscle, it doesn't burn like fat directly, but having more muscle mass means that you burn more calories at the same weight that you're at. So I found this kind of recent little study, and it's about, strength training and how it boosts longevity. And I thought it was really interesting because a lot of these studies show that women who do muscle strength training had like a reduction in their cardiovascular mortality by 30%.
Which is wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like there's not a lot of things that you can study that show that. So,
one thing I loved about this article, and I was looking through it earlier, is it actually, and this is on npr.org, National Public Radio, really good find, Jasmine. It even like gives you some really nice tips to get started and the benefits of each of these, which I just think is great. One, also appreciate, Jasmine, first time on the show, bring our first health topic, right? Like health is important. We all think about technology and IT, but what's more complex than our own bodies, right? And how do we make our bodies, stay healthy, stay active, and stay alive? Is the same kind of mentality we have for our data centers and our computers and our devices. So really appreciate you bringing this here. I think to your point, we grew up in a society that was like swole is the goal, right? So you think about lifting weights and it's all about, how do I look like Arnold Schwarzenegger? How do I get to like 20% of what the kind of mass he has? And just reading through this before the show, the thing I love is it's like, resistance training just builds up that muscle density, which, can help you take impacts if you fall. It's not even just your heart health, it's the incidental health that comes along with all of these things. And super interesting article. Highly recommend everyone reads. And it's definitely one of those things that I think we need to think of, just like security.
Yeah.
We need to think about the security of our health and well-being. What do you think, Sterling?
Yeah, and what really resounded with me with this is every little bit helps. You don't have to go as far as you may think it takes, or you see other people doing it. If we build our core, just start every little bit. And women who do strength training, everybody can just get out there and really just benefit from this, right?
Completely agree.
Totally.
Go ahead.
Another thing, like this was not related to this article, but I kind of was just, this stuff has been popping up on my feed as of late, because I've been really into kind of health and wellness and training, all that. But I also read something about kind of muscle strength and cancer. So this is kind of a dark topic, but a lot of people, get like 40% of people in the US, unfortunately, get cancer, which is really, really sad. But those who have more muscle density, more muscle mass, actually have not much better, but a better time going through chemotherapy, because chemo causes you to lose so much of your muscle mass. And I saw this doctor and they were like, get in the gym, like start working out, do this. If it's not for how you look, do it for your health, do it for the security of, being healthier longer. So that was really interesting to me because I mean, I don't know much about chemo, but I do know it makes you very like brittle and weak. And that was really interesting to me is like, if you have more muscle, obviously it makes sense. Like it's going to be easier for you to kind of go through it. Not that any part of that is easy, but you get what I'm saying.
No, totally. I mean,
get it.
well, it's funny, like just like everything we talk about, when you're trying to advance your career, your cybersecurity posture, your ability to learn a new skill, like it's just one more thing that takes effort that reaps incredible benefits, right? That go
Right.
far beyond just the physical appearance side of things, which is nice, but I love all the added benefit and bonus that we're unlocking just by learning more about our bodies.
Yeah, there's just so much you can do.
There is. Any other thoughts on this one before we move on to something terrifying?
I think the message is just for me, like get moving no matter what you do. Moving is good. And you're doing something for your body wherever you're moving. I mean, remote work is very sedentary. So get out there, go on a walk and do all these things to increase your longevity.
I love it.
I love it.
I love the idea of the balance of life too, right? I mean, it's all about the body, the mind, the health, the work, relationships. Awesome. Love it.
And a shout out to Kirill, who gave us the compliment for great topics today. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Hopefully the next one lives up to the expectation. Just give me 1 second here to pull it up and we can all be scared together. So just want to make sure that came through. There we go. Thank you. Thank you, whoever pushed the button and I pushed it. So this one, FTC, according to Bleeping Computer, they did a report. Americans lost $1.1 billion to impersonation scams in 2023. And nothing is good about this article except for this graph, which just to give you an idea of what's going on here. The graph on the top left starts in 2020, ends in 2023. And what we can see is the number of phone-based impersonation scams has gone down, which is great. But the number of all others is rising. Email, text, other methods. And other methods can include, like we talked about previously, using Zoom or WebEx or a face chat platform where they're able to impersonate by doing deep fake face masking and voice masking. And all of this is to say $1.1 billion in losses last year. Like, think about that. 490,000 reported scams just reported in 2023. How many of those go unreported? 330,000 were for business impersonation complaints. So this is a huge, terrible, scary topic that I wanted us to spend some time on today and just think about. Impersonation is something that we usually think about as like, oh, we go on SNL and, someone's going to do a joke version of Nicolas Cage. This is so much worse, right? Like this is people impersonating other people to get access to their finances and their funds. And we're just learning about how to handle this. So I'm curious what y'all think about this topic.
Well, I'll dive in there. I think we're just tipping the iceberg of what we've even heard about. I think we're there. This has been going on for much longer than has been revealed to us. I think we're just setting up the mechanisms where these companies need to kind of come forward and actually sort of admit what they've paid off and what they've done and what they've gone through. We've always known sort of the variable, let's call it, in every scenario is usually the human link. You can set up all the stopgaps in the world, but if you allow a human to sort of interact, that's always going to be some sort of a way around that there. And so we're starting to see a lot more of this social engineering. I think it will kind of grow and continue to sort of new forms. Jasmine, what do you think?
I mean, my first question is who's getting targeted? What's the demographic? That is just the first thing that comes to my head is, is it younger people? Is it older people? I mean, I don't know if it says that in the article, but that would be kind of my first question is,
I mean, look at some of these scams. Copycat, account security alerts. Scammers send fake alerts about unauthorized account activity. My favorite is down here at the bottom: made up package delivery problems, fraudulent messages from carriers about delivery issues, aiming to steal credit card information or account details under the pretense of resolving a delivery problem. Like, I would have to, so,
They're
I'm going to
getting
throw out,
creative, I'm telling you.
they are. And I did read a report. I think this also came from NPR. So it's fairly sound, but it did say that the Zoomer generation is actually the most scammed generation
Makes sense.
that exists. We can back that up. I'll make sure to bring stats to back that up in the future. But I think it's everybody, in all honesty. I think, we're if I had to make a guess about that data and the correlation, I would have to think, well, Zoomers are the most connected. They're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, they're on all the social medias. And impersonation requires that connective tissue of someone else communicating with you. I'm not anywhere except on this stream. So who's gonna try and impersonate to me when you can't even get my phone number? So
you would be hard to impersonate, Anthony.
AI is gonna make it even
hard.
worse.
Yeah,
like,
no, come on.
Yeah.
It is. I go on TikTok and they put people together that are like dating, and I'm like, wait, what? And it's not real. And it's all these just crazy, outrageous things that are being posted on the internet that people can't tell if it's real or not. So I would this is not surprising to me at all, because there's just so much fake things out there that it's getting harder and harder to tell what's real and what's not real.
It really is. And the attack vector is just growing, right? I mean, we get so much from these pieces of the social media that you begin to trust these certain sources. I know for one, the spam calls on my phone have gotten worse. The text messages with the links, they've even gotten worse, even though we've supposedly, going to have all these apps that sort of lessen them. So you're right. I just think they're going to keep coming, and they're just going to use every single way, so I think Ryan commented those numbers are insane. They are insane. And my guess is they're going to continue to go up, not only because the attacks are going to get, a little bit more varied, but I think we're going to start to even get some better numbers of those that have actually really been affected.
Right. And I think a big thing, and, we talked about this a little bit earlier in one of our other streams, is reporting is not a common practice, right? If it was mandated by law that you have to report every time you're impersonated, how many people do you know that would actually go call the police if they got a scammer on their phone, or if someone reached out to them on TikTok and was ingenuine? I mean, look at this one right here. Bogus problems with the law. Impersonators claim you're implicated in a crime, pushing you to move money or buy gift cards under the guise of resolving the issue. If the person who's impersonating, trying to trick you, is pretending to be a part of our justice system, how likely are you going to be to call the cops, right? Like, you're already talking to them.
I'd be like, no, goodbye. Not real. But I know a lot of people wouldn't. But for me, I'd be like, what? Like, there's no way I'm talking to you.
And I think that's the thing, right? Like, we are so lucky because we're on this stream, we have these conversations, we're technically minded people. But I know for a fact, my parents, when they get some of these texts of like, oh yeah, I'm trying to fix your Wi-Fi. We're AT&T. We notice your Wi-Fi is down, right? Like, how do they know? How do they know?
It's true.
I think skepticism.
I just assume ill intent, and then I can avoid.
I think that's a great point. That's exactly really what I tell my father. That is exactly, hey, just don't call me if you think something's crazy, but pretty much no, never, So I think that's, and it sucks because there are certain times where that may be, helpful, but you just have to err on that side. I mean, you always have to sort of implement that zero trust architecture around your personal life, right?
Well, and I love the, always assume, right? Like, one of the key tendencies of zero trust data resilience, which we'll talk about in a minute here, is assume breach. And maybe what we need to do as individuals is, for those of us to have friends, parents, family, whatever, that are not as technically minded, volunteer and say, hey, if you get a text that says, I've been kidnapped, or we're going to fix your Wi-Fi, just send it to me and I'll let you know if it's legit or not. And we volunteer to help folks be a little bit better at catching these things, and tell them why they need to be skeptical. Share these kind of articles with them.
I just think people need to be a little more paranoid. Like, in general, I mean, this is a weird thing to say, but people just go on their phones and they're walking in the street, and you don't know what's around you. And I think you have to be so hyper aware of your surroundings in, physical world and in the tech world as well. Just knowing what's around you can really help with, avoiding a lot of unfortunate situations. And I think
Love
I'm
that.
just so paranoid that I'm so scared that I'm gonna get like
I love
kidnapped
that.
or something. So I
No,
try to
no,
just
don't
assume
say
that
that.
someone's out to get me all the time.
I love this.
It's yeah, it's not a bad way to live. We take
Yeah,
self-defense courses so
yeah.
that we can
Mhm.
protect ourselves in physical space. Like maybe we need to have some cyber defense courses as well. And
Security matters, right? Security
it
matters. And it
does.
all starts with tech fitness. And so the fitness of your body, the fitness of your,
Good
devices, the
one.
fitness of sort of everything around that. I love that tie-in because you're right. It takes sort of a solution to, a solution,
Mhm.
of different things together.
An integrated
Yeah,
approach. You can't
Yeah,
just look at
exactly
one
right.
thing. I look at
that's
Yeah.
everything.
right. I love that. So in the backup case, right? Like we all work for Object First. We provide OOTB, best storage for Veeam.
Mhm.
When it comes to backup, if you want to strength train your Veeam environment, the best way to do it is with an OOTB, right? So one thing I want to share with everyone today is if you're watching the show or you're listening, check out our white paper on zero trust secure backup and storage. If you're watching the show, scan the QR code. This is a great way, if you're in the world of backup and recovery, to take a look at your security posture when it comes to backup specifically. Jasmine mentioned, assume all the time ill intent. One of the key tendencies of zero trust data resilience is assume breach. So if you read this white paper, it's a great way to get a complete overview on how to increase that security posture for your backup with some free tips and information on how to make that best for you.
And
And I
Oopie's
know
doing some little weightlifting right there too. He's
that's right.
going
Oopie
it
strength training
again.
with a loading bar.
Love it, right?
The question is, does the bar get heavier as it fills up?
Just tips.
Just the ultimate strength training. It gets harder as you go. Any final thoughts on anything we've talked about today, y'all? Really good topics all around.
I could have talked for what another hour, with these subjects. It's just, so because they all kind of come together. A good security posture starts with the physical portion. It starts with the digital portion. It starts with the mental understanding where your data is and what's important. And and I know as we talk through these things, are my devices being hacked, or what can I do to strengthen my body to live longer? It really kind of all comes together as a cohesive plan. And I just love it. I could have talked to you guys for hours.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the discussion. I thought it was great. I think for me, it's just, there's always something that we can improve on, whether it's, with your Wi-Fi network at home or your physical self. And there's always something that we can be doing to be better. And yeah, I think that's the positive to take away from this, is that there's so much that we can do to impact our lives and other people's lives. So just go with that.
I love it. And I especially love the call out about other people, because we get on the show and we share information with y'all. My ask is that we go out and we help other people, right? If we know someone isn't tech savvy, or if we know they need a little bit of strength training, let's go out and help them. Let's tell them what they can do, how they can improve their physical as well as their digital well-being. And let's be good stewards when it comes to, education and creating that awareness, because the bad guys win if no one cares. So if we care and then we spread that around, other people will too. So thanks again, Jasmine and Sterling, for coming on today, bringing the heat with some great topics. Matt will be jealous he couldn't have made this one, because I think he would have had a lot to say here. So
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks so much. So, and thanks to our audience for watching. Great comments in the chat today. Thank you for joining in as always. Do be sure to take a look at some of the links we shared. And thank you again to our sponsor, Object First, bringing OOTB, the best storage for Veeam. And for all of you out there, whether you're watching or listening, stay weightless, stay frictionless, stay zero gravity. We'll see you next week.